there you have it. I've been tuning this thing up all afternoon, and the second I come to record it, the sun goes in. So this may or may not come out. But we're here to have a look at a Slingerland MayBell Ukulele-Banjo. I believe it's a Style 24. And this is one of the first instruments I renovated many years ago with the help of a luthier called Kevin Parsons, who lives in Newcastle and who does very good work. He did the structural work that I was at that time was incapable of doing. And when I bought this instrument, the first thing that attracted me to it was very similar to a Gibson UB2. And as I examined it more and more, I discovered that there was one or two setbacks with it, and one of them was that the fretboard was cracked. It was made of stained pear wood, which is a wood that dries out, what can we say, different to other woods, and very often cracks longitudinally along the board. And I was living in fear of losing one or two frets or even the pearl markings, these lovely little diamond shaped markings that Slingerland put in their uke banjos. But Kevin made me a new rosewood fretboard and made a good job of fitting it. In the process of doing so, however, we ended up with a neck slightly narrower than the average model that I've since come across, several of them, probably about half a dozen. So at one time it was even discussed whether or not we should put steel strings on it rather than nylon strings. Anyway, we ended up with nylon strings, but lighter gauge than what we would normally put on a ukulele of this size. I think that works a little bit better. Anyway, in the process of this renovation, not really a renovation, more a restoration, we started to use a little bit of artist license, and we also had Kevin make us a lovely flat back plate resonator, much the same as on the Gibson UB2s. There's one or two things different. This has 6 screws, which is a Slingerland thing, as opposed to the Gibsons, which are usually 4. And there's also a little pearl dot in there. This was to hide the turning dint that you get when you're doing something on a lathe. I made a long-winded explanation that on the description I typed out that these were not the original screws that I put in here. I mislaid the original screws, so these are a little bit on the small side, so I just packed the holes with a little bit of blue tack, and it seems to work okay. While we were doing the rest of this renovation, because the neck was a little bit slimmer and we'd opted for a backplate resonator, which it didn't have, of course, it was just open back, it took on more of a Gibson-esque feel to it. So I reshaped the rather squarish contoured heel to be more like a Gibson, and put a little bit of a round on it there, as you can see. And also, because the peg head had been chewed about a bit, it looks as if it had been chewed by a puppy or maybe even a baby. I know, because I had a baby that did that once. We decided to crisp the head off a bit by taking a shaving off it, and in the process, of course, it became even more like a Gibson than a MayBell, as it says on the again, that's a little bit of artist license. We put a little bit of gold paint on there to pick out the name MayBell, which is really actually just a brand when it's done with a hot metal stamp when they put that in there, so it's just like branded into the wood. Anyway, replaced the original pearl diamond and did a nice fretting job on it, so it's perfectly smooth and perfectly playable, and it's finished with more or less a natural coloured lacquer on what is a solid walnut neck and a walnut veneered rim. Trying to get the back plate a similar colour, we couldn't really do a good match. I say we, that's me, I did the spraying. I couldn't really get a good match, so I opted for putting a very pale sunburst on it, what they call a coffee sunburst on guitars. So I hope you find that attractive. What else can we say about it? The metalwork is absolutely spanking. Nickel plated brass top band there, tension ring as you'd say, and some of the brackets were a little bit, the hooks I should say, were a little bit rusty, so to make a real job of it we opted for doing replacement Slingerland hooks, which you can buy nowadays. And also the tailpiece, which was a Grover type tailpiece, was very rusty because it's just thin plated steel, that, so we opted for a modern repro one which looks the part and does the job. It's got the original vellum on here, but it's quite fit, and that's just a simple maple bridge there, some light gauge black nylon strings, and that just about completes the physical description. Oh yes, the pegs were not very good. The plastic had decided to rot, as they say, so these are some replacement pegs, so-called non-slip pegs, but if you adjust them right they're not too bad. I think this has got quite a good playable action on there, but the George Formby guys might not agree with me and might want to put a shorter bridge on, or hopefully not alter the pitch of the neck. Anyway, I'll finish off a little bit of a George Formby thing just to show you the what it sounds like simply played in accompaniment, and then hopefully with a few fireworks the way George used to do it. Probably one of the first of his songs I ever learned. I think it's most people actually, it's one of their favourites, and it's the Leaning on a Lamppost. I nearly said the window cleaner there. So with this I shall bid you good day, and hope that it encourages you to try a bid on it I should say. So how do we start off? I forgot the intro there. I'm leaning on a lamp. Maybe you think I look a tramp. You may think I'm hanging round to steal a car, but no, I'm not a crook. And if you think that's what I look, I'll tell you why I'm here and what my motives are. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. Oh me, oh my, I hope that little lady comes by. I don't know if she'll get away, she doesn't always get away, but anyhow, I know she'll try. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. There's no other girl I would wait for, but this one I'll break any date for. She won't have to ask what I'm late for. I wouldn't leave her flat, she's not a girl like that. She's absolutely wonderful and marvelous and beautiful, and anyone could understand why. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. I'm leaning on a lamppost Bye now.